Hello everybody, it's R. Buell again here with Oak Tree Gun Club, and today we're going to be looking at how to clean a revolver. There's many different types of revolvers. They have different design features and whatnot, but generally they're all going to work the same way. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, here we have the Smith & Wesson 686. This is a .357 Magnum, and what we're first going to do is check to make sure the gun is unloaded. That's the first step when cleaning any firearm of any type. So to release this particular cylinder, we're going to push forward on our cylinder release right here, and then we're going to pop out the cylinder to the left. We're basically going to look right here, and we can see within the cylinder that there's no rounds in here. And of course there is no chamber like a semi-automatic handgun, so basically we're not going to have to worry about the barrel until the time we clean the barrel. So we have verified that this gun is in fact unloaded. Now what I'm going to be doing is, generally speaking here with the revolver, we're not going to have to take anything apart. Just by opening the cylinder as such, we can access everything that we need to properly clean. So there really is no reason to be taking this gun apart, or any revolver apart, generally speaking, unless it needs gunsmithing work or whatnot. And of course you should contact a qualified gunsmith to take care of anything you need. But generally speaking, for basic maintenance purposes, we're not going to be taking this gun apart. Okay, so I have my M Pro 7 gear here today. Very successful, effective cleaning stuff. I'm going to start with my gun cleaner from M Pro 7. I'm going to just start spraying the cylinder. Now this happens to be a rental gun, and you've probably shot this if you've come here at Oak Tree and shot a 686. There's a lot of carbon. There's definitely a whole lot going on. So basically I'm going to be scrubbing quite a bit. Now this happens to be an AR-15 brush. It's one of my favorites to use even if I'm not cleaning an AR-15, because it gets in all the crevices. It has a large and a small end brush. And I'm actually using the M Pro 7 handgun cleaning kit. And I'm just scrubbing along the revolver. There is some burn not some burn marks, but there's some discoloration and some built up carbon. Because again, with a revolver, there's not a perfect clear seal between the cylinder and the barrel. And sometimes carbon is going to blast out the sides of the chamber. This M Pro 7 stuff is really good. It cuts through all that built up carbon. And unfortunately this gun has not been cleaned in a while, so I've got a lot of work to do here. This is mostly cosmetic what I'm doing right now, but also it's a good thing just to get rid of carbon that's building up wherever it is on the gun. So just got rid of all that stuff on the side of the cylinder, but there's quite a bit left to do. And generally speaking, what I'm going to do is just get rid of all that carbon, all that buildup. I'm going to be getting rid of it where it's all built up inside the crevices of the gun. And that's what the small portion of my brush is going to be used for today. And again, there's quite a bit of work to do here. Your revolver will most likely and hopefully not look like this, especially after just a day at the range. So I'm being sure to clean the front end of these cylinders too. This is where a lot of the carbon is in fact going to be building up. So I'm just doing a full cleaning. And again, you can pretty much see everything is exposed with a revolver in terms of what you need to clean. So there's no parts that really need to be disassembled unless you're having a gunsmith do some work on your gun. So just going to have to do quite a bit cleaning and scrubbing. That's the best part about the M Pro 7 gun cleaning solvent here. Basically it's very safe, doesn't have all those dangerous harmful fumes, and it starts to do a really good job at scrubbing. And the bubbles are basically taking away all that carbon. And again, like I've talked about in the other videos, there is a process to cleaning guns. The first step is basically to break down the carbon, the copper, the lead, everything that's built up on the gun. We're breaking it down. That's the first step. The second step is we're going to be lifting it out. We're going to be using a rag, a lint-free rag or Q-tips or anything we need. And we're going to start lifting out basically all that carbon that we just broke down that's just sitting around the gun. And then a third and last step, and this is just for usage and storage, we're going to be lubricating the gun. And basically one thing we also want to look for is we are going to have some carbon that's going to build up on the end, so we're just basically going to use our M Pro 7. And we're going to also scrub just the outside of the barrel like such. Alright, so now we're going to clean that off. So basically the carbon has been taken away from the outsides of the gun and even on the insides of the cylinder and whatnot, but we still have to worry about the barrel. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be using a bore snake And if you haven't been aware, the bore snake has a weighted portion. It goes through the barrel and it comes out the other side. And then you have the brush portion, which will scrub the barrel. This acts as a giant patch. And then on the end, you can actually put a cleaning patch to see your progress and see how you're doing. So we're going to go ahead and put that through the barrel first. Okay. Now before I start to pull the bore snake through the barrel, I'm going to go ahead and coat the brush portion with some M-Pro 7. I'm not going to be too conservative with it. I'm just going to put it in there, and then I'm going to start pulling this through the barrel. It may require a wraparound with your hand. Okay, now generally it just takes one pass through, and I can already see through the sides of the frame here that the barrel is looking really good compared to what it used to look like. And now here's the tricky part. I just got to do this with every one of the holes in the cylinder. I'm just going to pull that through. Now if you're shooting 357 ammunition out of a 357, then basically you're not going to have to worry about this, but this really comes into play when you're shooting 38 special out of your gun, is that the 38 special, of course, is a little bit shorter than 357, so there is going to be a little bit of ring of carbon and lead and copper fouling that's going to be built up in your cylinder. So especially if you shoot a lot of 38 special out of a 357, or in this case that's the example, but if you have a 44 Magnum and you're shooting 44 special out of it, then the same situation applies. But basically you have to worry about that ring of copper and carbon and whatnot that's going to be on the end of your cylinder. So again, we're just going to be going through one cylinder at a time. And I'm starting to lose a little M-Pro 7, so I'm going to start the recoat here. And you just got to keep track of which cylinders you've done and which cylinders you haven't done. I believe I got one more, and I'll double check that. Okay. Now I can see through the light that I have gotten every cylinder here. They're nice and shiny. All that carbon is gone now. And you know what? Being that this is a rental gun, this has a lot more carbon than you would most likely have on your revolver, and even then it was just one pass is all that it took. So I'm going to use my small end portion of the brush. I'll probably put some M-Pro 7 on that. And I'm going to use this to basically start cleaning the little tiny indentations here of the spindle itself, the part that's actually going to be extracting and releasing the shells. Cleaning that out. Carbon will build up anywhere and everywhere. Okay, and this looks pretty good right here. Alright, so this gun is actually starting to look how it should. Nice and clean, no carbon, no heat marks or discoloration. There's nothing being built up. Cylinders look excellent. Alright, so now we've basically broken down the carbon. We've lifted it out with our lint-free rag here, and now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be lubricating the gun. Being that this is stainless steel, we don't have too much of a corrosion issue to worry about, but what we do want to worry about is just making sure it is properly lubricated. So we're going to accomplish that with some M-Pro 7 LPX. The gun oil is excellent stuff. It keeps on the gun. And we're going to first be lubricating the spindle. And basically we're just going to smooth it over with the finger. And we'll put some on here too. We don't want to get to the point where the gun is dripping. We definitely do not want that. But what we do want is we just want to make sure everything has a healthy coating of lubricant and oil. We're also going to make sure we apply some in the joint here. Between the receiver itself and the actual cam that takes out the cylinder. And we're going to work that a little bit just to make sure the oil gets worked in, and then we're going to get rid of any excess oil that spilled out. Okay, so your gun, when properly done, your cylinder should be able to rotate freely like such. And this is just a side note, but your spindle here, if you've been taking care of your revolver, this spindle should be straight. As it's turning, it should be absolutely straight. If your spindle is kind of jarring left and right, okay, that means it's bent, and you probably need to go see a gunsmith. It probably won't let you turn it. So it's just kind of the overall service life of the revolver, something to keep in mind. Last thing we want to do is I'm just going to coat the barrel itself with some M-Pro 7 LPX, and what that's going to do is it's good for storage. Generally when you store any kind of firearm, you want to leave the barrel with a slight little tiny coat of oil on the rifling and within the barrel. So we're going to accomplish this by pulling the bore snake through most of the way until we get to right about the end. And again, there's going to be many different types of techniques and methods. I'm just going to put a little bit of LPX on the bore snake, and then I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to wipe off the excess. And what we did there is we just put a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch, just a little tiny coat of oil on the inside of the barrel. We have a lot of bare metal steel in there. We want to keep that protected. Okay, so just the last part of revolver etiquette, basically something that's going to extend the service life of your revolver. You sometimes see in the movies especially where they'll take the revolver like this and they'll jar the revolver to the right to close the cylinder. That is absolutely bad for your cylinder and your revolver and the locking lug on the bottom of the receiver. This little notch basically right there that actually mates with these notches in the side of the receiver. So what we want to properly do to close this cylinder, once we have our ammunition loaded in the gun, we want to take our thumb and with the cam, we want to push the cam in just like that, and then we want to index the revolver, where maybe that the cylinder has not been, there's a little bit of play when the locking lug has not locked the cylinder yet. So again, we're going to basically take it, we're going to load up our ammo, we're going to close it, and then we're going to index it, and that is how we properly close a revolver. You'll find that if you actually do that with your guns, and you take care of them with your revolvers, you're not going to have any problems, and your cylinder is going to last a lifetime. Thanks for watching.